And that's just to help with our recording of our meeting. And also that the chat feature is not to be used during the meeting. I think we can disable it. And I also say that for, unless there's public consultation or open discussion that we've set in our meetings, that's not something that we regularly use. And of course, Council, I had mentioned at our last meeting that I will be using the phrase, if there is no objection, to carry on motions that are of a housekeeping nature or a regular nature that we would usually pass. And hopefully that'll save a couple of minutes on our meetings. Okay, I guess we just need to press record and we can get started this evening.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, welcome, Council, to our council meeting tonight of a regular meeting. If I can get a mover and a seconder to open, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved that we do call this regular meeting of council to order on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. And if there is no objections, we'll take that as carried. Moving on, if I can call on Councillor Belinda Kistemaker to do our Indigenous land acknowledgement, please.
The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the land on which we gather here today is the Treaty 9, 1905 to 1906 territory, the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples.
Thank you, Councillor Kistemaker. Moving on to item number 3, review and note any changes to the agenda. The agenda is being motioned as presented. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that Council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. And if there is no objection, I call that as carried. Moving on to item number 5, declaration of pecuniary interest and general declaration of conflict of interest. You can do that now, Council, or at any time throughout the meeting. I do not have paperwork right now, so we will continue on. Business arising from the minutes. Okay, we had item 6.1, and I want to thank Jennifer Hill, our Deputy Clerk, for providing a report on this. Is there any, does Jennifer want to speak to her report before I open up the floor for questions from Council?
Yes, I believe she has a few things that she'd like to add to her report.
Perfect. She can do that now.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Hill. Nice to see you, actually. Go ahead.
So, bear with me. I'm still a little congested, so I'm sorry for that. I did just want to say, since writing this report, I've been able to find out how much of the funding has been used for our current RED program application, and that is a total of $47,000. So we still have a decent amount left to finish that, and that will be done September 1st. For my recommendation for if we should put in another application after discussion with the CAO clerk and the treasurer, the client services manager treasurer, is that I think we should not. Because we don't have the money in the reserves, we don't have staff capacity or resources, and should we choose to subsidize that through taxpayers, that's unfair to them. So that's kind of after having a discussion about that.
Okay, thank you for that, Jen. And a couple of questions that I had. I open up the floor first to council if you have any questions on the report. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions at this time. The one question that I had was for the entire project. I know we have it until September 2023, but of the items listed, do we know how much completion has been done of each, or how much will be completed of the project?
All of the items listed will have to be completed per the agreement. Right now, we have started the branding, and the RFP will go out soon, I believe. And all of the review for the documents and plans have been completed. Let me see. Sorry, I have notes up here. Yeah, I believe most things have been started so far. I'm not exactly sure how far we've gotten on them yet, just because the economic development officer is currently out of the country, so I can't ask her because time zones and also vacation. But kind of from what I found, most things, at least as of September last year, have been started, and I'm not exactly positive on where we're at yet.
Okay, thank you for that, Jen. Is there any further questions from council? Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through Mayor, to Jennifer, she's recommended not to proceed. Do you have any more monies available through MWMO versus direct taxpayers money, Jennifer?
We have, I believe, it's in my report. I believe it's around 11,000, potentially 500. It's somewhere between $11,000 and $12,000 remaining in the NWMO Community Fund. I forget the exact word for that, but where the money came from last time. That is the total that we have in there is under 12,000.
Okay, thank you. I do.
Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I did not see that number. That's the reason I asked. If that's the case, I would accept the recommendation not to proceed with this application for funding. Thank you.
I do have a follow-up question to that. In the report, it says the NWMO Community Wellbeing Reserve. Does that reserve include all of our planning dollars that we put in there? Because we took the 75,000 for the entire revitalization project, but it included our gap analysis and our branding exercise. And I'm just wondering how we're allocating the other planning dollars, or do we know how much is in our planning dollars? Go ahead, Eileen.
Sorry, I was just trying to scan the information that we have, and I don't have that information. I don't believe we have that information on us. We'd have to get back to council on finding that information. And I also just wanted to just advise that in Jen's report, it's on page 4, and it's in the second paragraph. Just advising that there's 11,646 from the NWMO Wellbeing Reserve that's left over.
Yes, my concern is that are we going to be able to finish the entire project? We're saying that we are supposed to be, but it seems that we're not sure where we're at, and it's September 1st we have to be done. And that is quite a bit of work that is listed there. So I'm just concerned about that portion, but that would be aside from applying again. Okay, I'm in favor of following the recommendation of not applying, but I would like to suggest to council that this report be brought back to our next meeting so it could be discussed with our economic development officer and see exactly where we're at. If that's acceptable to council as well. Councillor Stefanik, Councillor Schoenemann, and Councillor Kistemaker is in agreement? Yes, okay. Okay, so the motion on the floor is well, we wouldn't even need to pass a motion then if because this, did we actually defer this motion to this meeting?
Mayor Ford, yes, we did. We deferred it.
Okay. Okay, and we had a mover and a seconder at that time?
I believe we did, yes.
I'm just not sure if we need the mover and the seconder for the first deferral, because I think we should change our motion that's on the floor because it doesn't align with what the report is reporting. I'm just in reference to the third whereas of the current deferral. It says there remain many rural revitalization plan activities that are in need of someone to lead these projects and carry them through to completion. My understanding from the report is that the items listed in the report need to be completed. So I just find that is a discrepancy between what we're reporting and then what we're motioning. So I would just propose that the motion just be changed to that we're not applying to the red dollar funds at this time. So I look to Eileen or our deputy clerk for clarification. Do we need the mover and seconder of the original motion?
Did you want me to tell you who the original mover and seconder were, or?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
By protocol, by our policy and procedure, they would have to agree for the motion to be changed.
Okay. So it was Councillor Schoenemann and Councillor Belinda Kistemaker.
Okay. Councillor Sheneman and Councillor Kistemaker. Who was the mover? Sorry, Eileen.
Councillor Sheneman.
Okay, Councillor Sheneman, are you in agreement with us changing the motion to decline applying for the red dollars at this time? And just a simple motion? And Councillor Kistemaker, as the seconder, are you in agreement as well?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So the motion would read, whereas there is funding through the Rural Economic Development RED program under the Economic Diversification and Competitive Stream, will not be applied for at this time by the Township of Hornepayne. Period. And with that motion on the floor, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. None opposed. Okay, thank you for your report, Jennifer, and we look forward to discussing further about the project at a future meeting. And now we come to deputations, presentation, tender awards, and open discussions. And we have a presentation at the invitation of the mayor. Brent Boyko is with us from Suthey, Holler Associates. And I invite you to turn your camera on now, Brent. Great for you to join us this evening, Brent. Just some background for our community is we had a workshop discussing forest biomass and the economic benefits and socio benefits to our community. And I thought it imperative that the community hear this presentation and see how that they can incorporate their thoughts through the survey. So I give the floor to you, Brent. Thank you for being in Hornepayne virtually tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and distinguished guests. I'm Brent Boyko. Just wanted to give you an overview of a study on the forest biomass socio-economic impact assessment. I'll start off with a definition. A forest-based bioeconomy means the economic activity generated by converting sustainably managed renewable forest-based resources, primarily woody biomass and non-timber forest products, into value-added products and services using existing and novel processes. So the forest-based bioeconomy presents a significant opportunity to develop Ontario's forest biomass resource. It supports environmental objectives such as emission reductions and managing forests for healthy, resilient forests and develop value chains, has a strong potential for sustainable community and economic development opportunities for Ontario's rural, northern, and Indigenous communities. In March 2022, Ontario released a Forest Biomass Action Plan, which delivered on the commitment to develop plans in sustainable growth, Ontario's forest sector strategy. The FBAP, as it's called, has developed to secure jobs and encourage sustainable forest sector while improving economic development through the use of forest and mill residuals. It has a set line of objectives and actions that Ontario will take to support new opportunities in the emerging forest-based bioeconomy. The plan was developed through a working group that included participants from across and potential forest biomass value chains, as well as based on community comments received through Indigenous consultation and a policy posted at the Environmental Registry of Ontario. So Ontario is working to promote the use of forest and sawmill residuals for sustainable low carbon products. It's committed to building deeper understanding of the impacts of forest biomass use. So this project has been launched, the Forest Biomass Socio-Economic Impact Assessment, and it's scheduled for completion by the end of March this year. So Hornepayne was selected as one of the focus communities for your novel use of forest biomass in the form of mill residuals for bioenergy production. There also another study done in Atikokan with the biomass wood pellet and bioenergy production, and that includes the two pellet suppliers that deliver the supply chain through to Atikokan. And Wikwemikong has a novel use of forest biomass in domestic heat and commercial heating applications. And the fourth study is in Kilo, Eganville, with 2 sawmills and an MDM plant. So this part of the outreach is to get to communities, which was done earlier in your community. But the outreach is ongoing, and we have a study that is soliciting input from folks that weren't able to express their opinions and their ideas and areas for improvement firsthand. So the study link you'll find at the end of the backgrounder, but I'll just put it out there again for folks that may not have it, is next4.ca Socio-Economic Impact Study 2023. So what the study is seeking to do in above building the economic models that show the jobs and the spin and the broader benefits of the forest bioeconomy is looking at communities that have been affected by the forest-based enterprises and what have been the positive impacts, what can be done better, and what does the future hold. The second question that's being delved is what community learning models about bioproducts, what experience do you have in the forest-based bioeconomy, and how have they been integrated into the community? The third question is how has innovation and resilience been built into the community economic models, including circular economy concepts? And has the community leaders found ways to inform and adapt to new business models that may involve new industry players from the forest industry and external investors? And do bioeconomy projects lead to broader concepts of economic and social development, including entrepreneurship, innovation, and training? So this, your ability to input into the study for those that haven't had firsthand interaction, we do have that. We do have the poll open until March 15th. And there are several one-on-one consultations that are happening in parallel with community groups and developers. So at this point, I'd open to any questions or feedback from any of the folks on the line here about the study, where you can find the link to it and what your thoughts and ideas are for improvement.
Thank you for that, Brent, and thank you for being in our community virtually tonight. As I had said in the workshop that was conducted a few weeks ago, that when the cogeneration plant was being built, it brought hope and sustained hope to our community. It also partners with our lumber mill and creates better jobs and more secure job market. And we would definitely like to see that continue in further economic streams. So I want to say thank you to the people that put Hornepayne as part of the study. I think this is very important. So I open the floor now to council if you have any questions about the study and or for Brent. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through Mayor. Thank you, Brent. So you're looking obviously for a cross-section community, different ages, male, female. What is the rate of expectations that you're looking at, the return on surveys? Percentage-wise, are you looking at 20 or 30% of our community? What's a good benchmark that will give you input for your survey? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. The survey has, we are looking for community leaders like yourselves. It is not necessarily out for cross-population. We're using some of the community data and industry data to work on the socio-economic outcomes. We have an economist currently working on generating those numbers. So it really is, sharing some of your personal experiences that they'll help contribute to the stories behind the numbers. That's what we're looking at. And I think Mayor Fort really hit the nail on the head. It's, getting that sense of a long-term stability into a community, leveraging existing industries and doing more with the available forest biomass that's in your background, in your backyard.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Brent. And thank you, Councillor Stefanik, for the question. And I do want to say as well that it added new jobs to our community that weren't here before. And I think of the technical engineering portion, that was a brand new career choice that's a successful career to get into. It's very intriguing and it opens up other avenues for our community. So that's just one thing that I can highlight in my short time on council. And since the cogeneration plant has been built, that's an added benefit to our community that did not exist to have that technical job within our career within our community. So, and I'm sure there's others, I'm just highlighting that position. Is there any further questions from council? Richard, you're okay to speak, Richard?
Yes, thank you. And I do want to thank the council for allowing me to attend with Brent this evening. For those who don't know me, I work with the group of companies that own the power plant, the sawmill in Hornepayne and the one in White River. And I've been asked by Gilles, the president of the group, to help facilitate the dialogue between the community and the consulting company that's been hired to it. To provide some background, I also sit on the Forest Biomass Action Plan Advisory Group, and the work that group is doing and this work that's coming out of that is really beneficial for the province to have a better understanding of what the power plant brings to the province and specifically to the Hornepayne area. So I guess I appreciate the town taking the time out to fill out the questionnaire, participate with the group, provide input. I've also provided some of the more cost and financial information. As Brent talked about, another economic person has been hired to do some analysis. So I have helped them provide that. So like I said, I do want to thank the council and you, the mayor, for allowing me to attend tonight and for helping complete the survey and provide information back, because this will be definitely beneficial for the company, especially at this time when we are in the process of renegotiating our power purchase agreement. For the province to understand the impact really helps us in negotiating an extension of that contract. So I do want to thank the council for that. And if you have any questions of myself, feel free to ask. I'm glad to answer.
Thank you, Richard, for being here tonight. I appreciate you coming online with Brent. And I just want our community to know that in the background, for my own education purposes and being your mayor, Richard has helped me understand the forest industry, the economic benefits it brings to our community. So I resonate with what Richard's saying, is that we need people to fill out the surveys. This is all part of our community. We all benefit from having sustainable economic activity in our area. And the forest is a renewable resource that we can continue using and regenerating. And this is a sustainable investment into the future. And this is what we need to show, that not only just for Hornepayne, but for the other areas around, that the North does have sustainable economies, that we can get out of a boom and bust cycle. And this is part of that. So I really want to thank you, Richard, for being here. And thank you for the extra effort. I know that in conversations that we've had in helping me understand the importance of the forest economy within Hornepayne. So I do, go ahead, Richard.
Just one other thing, because I know it's a discussion you and I had last week. I did attend the information session this afternoon that the IESO had with regard to hydrogen opportunities. So I have talked to the company, and we are exploring to see if we can take advantage of that opportunity, which was yet another project that was attached to the power plant and for the growth of that. So my initial review of that, it does look like the program that the IESO is launching has some opportunity for us. We'll be exploring that further.
That's exciting news. I support you along with that, and I would I'll be following along. Any support that myself or council can bring, we definitely want to support that project.
Thank you.
Okay, so I open up the floor for further discussion on this from council. I'm not sure if Councillor Sheneman, are you looking for your mute button? No? Okay. Okay, and Councillor Belinda was with us at our roundtable. So I am going to encourage the community as well through a Facebook Live tomorrow to fill out the survey. I am going to walk through the survey. I had mentioned this to Brent that I would wait to fill the survey out myself, but I will be doing that tomorrow as well and encouraging all of our community to fill out the survey and reaching out to individuals as well. And I want to, again, thank you for the work you're doing, and let's see our power plant and lumber mill continue into the future, into the long future with a signed agreement. Okay, thank you this evening.
Thank you for your time.
Bye for now. Okay, and we'll move on to item number 8, correspondence action item. 8.1, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ted Sheneman, seconded by Councillor Drago Stefanik. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby approve the expenditures to be incurred by the following to attend the 2023 Ontario Farmland Forum, Planning to Save the Soil, to be held on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, virtually and in Guelph, Ontario. And Eileen, did you want to speak to this at all?
I don't think I have anything further to add, but I can take any questions if anyone if council has any.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any questions? And has anybody looked at possibly attending?
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Sheneman, yes, go ahead.
not in person, but I would certainly like to try to make the time to be able to attend virtually.
Great. So we'll insert Councillor Ted Sheneman. Is there anyone else that would like to attend? Okay. It does note on here that farmers and land use planners and that sort of thing can attend. I'm wondering if we should share just the poster on our social media, on our Facebook page, and people could call and sign up on their own. Eileen, would that be permissible?
Yeah, we will probably post it on the website and then share the link on the we can share the link on Facebook for the public.
Okay, great. Okay, and if there's no further additions to the motion, I'll put that motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Okay, moving on to item number 9, correspondence, information only. Resolution recommendation is the acknowledged receipt. If we can have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ted Sheneman, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda of the regular meeting of Council held on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. And we have a few different items on there. Is there any questions to the items listed? Or comments? Okay, I want to note on the 2023 departmental work plans that we will be seeing departmental work plans again coming in May after our SDR, sorry, not our SDR, our strategic plan is done. And that will be to the end of the year. Okay, if there's no further comment or question, we'll put that motion of acknowledgement to receipt to the floor. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Okay, item number 10 is community board updates. And we can go around the floor. Councillor Stefanik?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Essentials Municipal Fire Protection in Wawa on February 9th. There was 3 presenters, Office of the Fire Marshal, and all 3 did a superb job. I made all the notes on the actual sheets that were copied for me by Eileen. I thank Eileen for doing all the prep work and copying stuff for the community meeting. So I was very fully aware and prepared, and that should be appearing in council's files attached to the agenda when the deputy clerk has time to put it in. But there is room to put it in, and I would really encourage that all members of council read it, because there's a few items. I put VI, very important, so we could have a brief discussion when that time arises. Also, it was nice to see Mark and Jesse from the Hornepayne Fire Department there as well. So I spoke to them briefly. There was a great presentation. Hornepayne Board of the Health, we had a first finance meeting yesterday, virtual. The main topic of the agenda was budget 2023, and we elected our chair, which is Mayor Peter Politis from Cochrane. I also have a virtual meeting tomorrow with David, Municipal Government Wayfinders tomorrow night on strategic plan. And I said earlier, I was glad to be part of the team that served breakfast. I truly enjoyed it, and it was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Councillor Sheneman, go ahead.
We had a hospital board meeting, and again, the budget is the crucial. The numbers are probably getting into a critical situation. There's been a lot more expenditures on staff. The hiring of agency nurses has really taken up a large portion of what should have been a surplus, is now reversing into a shortfall. They have lost another full-time position nurse. One of the regular nurses from town has resigned and taken employment elsewhere. So that's left them again short and searching for more agency nurses. Still having trouble with the accommodations, even though they have purchased the other house. There's still not a mix of a balance of male and female agency staff, so they're still struggling trying to find the positions. And they have been able to secure a lab tech position to be able to have lab work will continue as normal in town. So that will be something that will be is a benefit and will be ongoing, is that they've been able to supply those needs through a new system that they have, as well as a little bit of relief that's showing up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sheneman. And we'll move on to Councillor Kistemaker. Belinda?
I attended a local citizens meeting last night with Nagogny Forest people. Basically, I told them about our survey that's going on and our group meeting that we had, so they know all about that. And if you're putting it out on Facebook tomorrow, it should add to what I presented. So it's all good.
Perfect, good. Thank you, Councillor Kistemaker. From my stance, Council, so on March 8th, you will get the full report of all my meetings again for February. They have been extensive. Today, Eileen and I attended NEOMA, so that's the Northeastern Ontario Mayors, a municipal association. It was great. We got to meet several people, and elections happened there, and I have been elected as the vice president, acclaimed. There was 3 of us in the position. I was the last to decide whether I wanted to take the position. It is a small, it is a huge role, but with small duties. I only fill in underneath when the president is not available. And the president is actually the mayor of Cochrane, Mayor Politis. So he will be the president for this term. I would like to highlight that, yes, I will be doing a Facebook Live tomorrow. I want to highlight the survey that we just spoke about. I also want to give a big shout out to our community for attending Winterfest and all of those people that supported organizing it and being at events. I have heard such good things about Winterfest, and it's exciting to see our community pulling together. And I did want to make one recommendation. I did talk to Eileen about that, was next year, maybe if we could delegate some duties to councillors to open up different events. I think like the bonfire, it would be good to have a council representative, and the sliding hill, different areas. I certainly can't make them to all of them. As you know, I work weekends, and some of the best things happen on weekends, but I think it would be important for our presence there. And further that, one other exciting news, the Mayor of Timmins, Mayor Michelle, and I have met a few times talking about having a Northern Ontario Women's Caucus. And we are hoping to have some information for the March 8th meeting. Actually, we'll have a news release and inviting all of the Northern Ontario women's mayors to a first meeting at the end of this month. And we will be at that time, if the mayors do want to continue or form some sort of caucus, we would be looking for council support in a resolution that's not a monetary support. In the discussions that we've currently have, just to keep council abreast, that we have had some funding support already reach out to us, and we're looking forward to meeting with all the women mayors. We do think it would be a good advocacy group to bringing further funding and highlight the disparities that women have in Northern Ontario. As you all know, Northern Ontario was first occupied, of course, by the Indigenous people that lived here. And then when settling came, it was primarily to attract men to service jobs and industry jobs. So we want to ensure that it's a balanced approach for our communities. And that was one of the items that is dear to my heart. So there will be updates on that for March 8th as well. And I think that's it that I need to share with council right now. And of course, you can reach out to me with any questions and at any time, council. Okay. And we'll move on. Item number 11.1, signing authority for financial institutions. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ted Sheneman, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas Council passed Resolution 2022-355 to establish a signing authority on behalf of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne for the financial institutions of the Northern Credit Union, NCU, and the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC, at their inaugural meeting held on November 15th, 2022. And whereas the CAO clerk has since retired, therefore be it resolved that effective January 1st, 2023, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby authorize the following member of council and staff to sign on behalf of the corporation: Mayor Cheryl Fort, Councillors Belinda Kistemaker, Peter Kistemaker, Ted Sheneman, Drago Stefanik, Municipal staff, Eileen Singh, CAO Clerk, Melissa Chenier, Client Service Manager Treasurer, Bonnie Moylan, Accounting Clerk, Deputy Treasurer. Be it further resolved that resolution number 2022-355 be hereby rescinded. And is there any comments on the motion? There being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? That's carried. Item number 11.2 is to set a special meeting for council staff relations and orientations. We did discuss this at our last meeting and pick these dates. So we put a motion on the floor to set them. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Drago Stefanik. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby set a special meeting of council on Saturday, March 11th, 2023 at 10 a.m. in a virtual meeting room or for staff relations and orientation training provided by Municipal Government Wayfinders. Just a question on that training. Are we not meeting in person and they are coming virtually?
Yes, they're presenting virtually, but we could meet in person within the council chambers.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that's what was happening. Okay, so I put that to a vote if there's no further comment, and those in favor. And that is carried, none opposed. Item number 11.3 is the meeting for the strategic plan refresh. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby set a special meeting of council on Saturday, March 25th, 2023 at 10 a.m. in a virtual meeting room for the presentation from Municipal Government Wayfinders to outline the next steps for the strategic plan refresh and to receive council feedback. Any further discussion on that motion? No, then I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Item number 11.4 is setting a special presentation strategic plan. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ted Sheneman, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby set a special meeting of council on Wednesday, April 26, 2023 at 6 p.m. in a virtual meeting room for the presentation of the final strategic plan from Municipal Government Wayfinders. I do have one comment on this motion. I had discussed with Eileen of the possibility of having budget consultation or budget meeting allocation to this meeting if we needed it. I was looking for direction from Eileen if we want to defer the motion to see if we want to add that or not.
We can defer it for now. It might be a possibility, but yeah, we can defer it for now if council would like.
Okay, and council, why I'm making that suggestion is we do have budget meetings coming up, and if we do not pass the budget at the beginning meeting, the previous regular meeting, this would allow us to pass it at that time. And special meetings need to be set with the agenda, so that's why I'm proposing the deferral. And if council's in favor of that, we'll defer this motion. And I put that to a vote. Those to defer, yes, okay, and that's carried to defer. Okay, item number 11.5, consolidation of boards and committees. And would Jennifer like to speak to her report before I open up the floor for questions?
Yes, I believe she has. Oh, so she can. She doesn't have anything further to add, but she can take any questions that council might have for her.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. And we open up the floor now, council, for any questions about the consolidation of boards and committees. So there's 3 options on the report, and we're looking at direction so that staff can prepare the terms of reference for the structure we choose. Councillor Drago-Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I was looking at, I'm just looking at my notes. I couldn't find my comments. I like the one with the number 2, Consolidated Committees, Community Development Advisory Committee, Operations Committee, and Geo Committee as well. That would be my preference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Councillor Sheneman?
I was about to say I had the same, so I would agree with Councillor Stefanik that that would be my choice also.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sheneman. And Belinda, do you have a preference, Councillor Kistemaker?
No, I don't, but I'll go with whatever everyone decides. Kind of anxious to see how things will work out. It's worth a try.
Okay. The one item that I did think is kind of interesting is when you have a committee, they can establish subcommittees. And the one item with 3, if we dedicate a Geographic Centre of Ontario subcommittee, we don't necessarily have to have all the members of the committee on that. And then we can appoint committees. A subcommittee doesn't have to be appointed through council, and they can run meetings a little more casually, and then they bring a report back to the bigger committee. So I was just wondering, I put that out there, and I look actually to Drago for preference, and Belinda, because they sat on the center of committee as council representatives. And I'm wondering if that would give you more freedom in establishing and doing the work of the committee. You wouldn't have to run it so structured as the main committee would have to be structured, but the subcommittee would not need that structure as much. Did I say that clear? Does Jen or Eileen want to clarify that for me? No, we're good? Okay. Jen, do you want to clarify? No? Okay.
I was sorry, Mayor Ford. I was just going to say that I believe you explained that correctly. And if I could add further, and I think Jen, you might have to help me here, but from what I understand, it doesn't necessarily even need to be a counselor. Like it could be maybe Jen, you can add into this part, but
Yeah, so it just has to be a member from the committee. I believe it's minimum 1 or 2 members from the committee must be on the subcommittee, and then those members of the main committee would bring that information back to the main committee at their regular meetings, and then essentially a blurb would be put into the minutes, kind of updating on all the subcommittees, and that's how that would go, so that it's more streamlined, because a lot of the time, like, running committee meetings can be overwhelming because you have to follow the strict council procedure, whereas subcommittee meetings are more casual, and a lot of places choose to do like a couple of major committees and then having subcommittees, and then they'll have like a major committee meeting once a month or once every couple months, and it's a lot less intensive because they can have multiple subcommittee meetings and not have to bring those minutes to council every single time. They just bring them to the main committee, so it's only like once every month or 2 or whatever, so, if that makes sense.
Yes, Thank you, Jen. That does clarify, because that's what I was trying to bring to the forefront for Councillor Kistemaker and Councillor Stefanik, was the flexibility of a subcommittee if they wanted to look at that for the Geographic Centre of Ontario, because you can have multiple meetings of your subcommittee without any notice. You can have your committee meeting, and then you bring those points to the bigger committee at the regular scheduled bigger committee meeting, which might be easier to get the work in the background done. But I never sat on that committee, so I do leave it up for your discussion. Councillor Kistemaker, I see you're unmuted.
When you're talking about these subcommittees, this would be even like when we're talking about Parks and Recreation, there would be subcommittees underneath that. You're the same thing?
No, there would be one committee would be so if we look at a Community Development Advisory Committee, so it would deal with those items listed there. And then the committee, that main committee, they would formally create a subcommittee for whatever they wanted to look at if they felt they needed that. If you just need to meet every 2 months or whatever the structure becomes, and you can deal with all your business in there, you can do that. You don't need to create a subcommittee if you don't need it. I do think personally, like, I like item number 2, I like the divide, but in that divide, the Geographic Centre of Ontario Committee actually becomes a full committee. So now you have to put out all the notices. If there's no flex, I think you have less flexibility is what I'm looking at. Is you could meet, say your meeting's running long, and you're like, oh, you know what, this meeting's running long, why don't we meet again next week and finish it up? And you don't have to give any notice of that to the bigger committee until your next big committee meeting, if you're a subcommittee. Yeah. So I just leave it to both. And Councillor Sheneman, you can chime in as well. They were the past chair and councillor representative of our Geographical Centre Ad Hoc Committee. Councillor Stefanik, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do, through you, Mayor. I think in principle, I agree with you. There's more latitude is going to be involved, and I firmly believe that should 2 members of council, because I know I want to be on it. I can't speak with Linda because we have different points of view. We have different take on things. So it's always nice to have 2 people, and 2 people report back to the main committee. I don't want to be slanted towards myself or somebody else. So I think it's crucial to have 2 members of council. The rest I agree in principle. Thank you.
Okay, Jen, go ahead.
I also wanted to add, so for council and staff, I am hoping for until the 1st, so a week from today, feedback. So you can email me with like which options you prefer, with any questions you have, with things you would like to see in the committee specifically, if there are things that aren't listed in here but you think should be, and then I can kind of take all of that into consideration with making the terms of references, so that we can try to make them good on the first draft.
Okay, thank you for that, Jen. So then we can make sure that if council does decide for, say, the option 3, that within the subcommittees, there's always 2 council representatives on those subcommittees. Councillor Sheneman, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My experience with subcommittees is they have that freedom and that latitude, but often the decision making tends to go in the same direction, where it's, we'll put it off, we'll put it off, we'll put it off. So the dedicated committee comes to, I believe, to a decision in a much more prompt fashion than a subcommittee. Subcommittees tend to take longer to be able to get through that process, at least in my experience. Thank you.
Okay, and just in your experience, Councillor Sheneman, is there any parameters that you've ever seen put in place at the full committee level that ensures the subcommittee is moving along, or?
No, unfortunately, I have not. And any of the subcommittees I've been on, there have not been a parameter saying that we need that report by then. It's been a very open and tends to drag on in my experience.
Okay, okay.
Madam Mayor?
Okay. Yes, go
Perhaps,
ahead.
Perhaps Jen or Eileen might be able to help us out with that, whether or not we could set that parameter where there needs to be a set decision making or a timeline to be able to adhere to that might relieve that.
Yes, I defer that to Jennifer or Eileen. Jen, go ahead. Or
So technically, especially subcommittees, but committees aren't making decisions. That's council makes the decision. So it's essentially like the subcommittees are going to be discussing something specific, and then they'll bring that to the main committee, which will be brought to council through the minutes or if needed through a report. But there won't, like, either way, there's not really specifically like action or decisions. Like, council is the decision making body and the committees are there to provide recommendations and information. So that's in this case, I don't know. I understand what Councillor Shenman is saying, but with regards to decision making, there isn't any. So, and the report would be coming from the main committee anyway to council. So it would more so be bringing it to the main committee.
okay, and then we could put parameters in place that if, and I think we should do this because doesn't matter which item we choose, which choice we choose, we're going to have these committees that could create a subcommittee. And it really, between each meeting, whatever the subcommittee is supposed to investigate between the regular committee meetings, it needs to be brought, like the report or the investigation findings need to be brought to that next meeting so that there is continuance. I see what you're saying, Councillor Shenman, and thank you for bringing it up, because I think we need to incorporate that in the terms of reference and the way that we set up the main committee. Because no matter, like in this case, we're focusing on the Geographical Centre of Ontario Committee just because I want to ensure that that has the support and the power behind it, and council chooses that. But at the same time, all the structure needs that extra weight. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think I'm frozen, but that's okay. I'm somewhere in the stratosphere. There's a simple solution with the balloons. You know, they're flying around. There's a solution. I just follow the same template as Belinda did for the ad hoc committee. There's no issues. Same time frames. I belong to thousands committee over the last 40 years. We follow the same template, but we're not going to be ad hoc committee. We're a subcommittee. So I don't think there'll be any issues at all on timelines and time frames. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Okay, so if from our discussion, I'm going to put that in writing to you, Jen, before the 1st, about just ensuring that both of our committee, the advisory for operation or community development, that we do have timelines for those other subcommittees, whatever they may be that the committee needs. And is there any further discussion? And which option? I know we were looking towards option 2. Do we want to try option 3 at this time? And I think Drago is still frozen.
Hey, I'm playing part in my movie, okay? Come on, leave me alone. Movie Frozen. Yeah, I mean, since... Yeah,
I'm
one of those days. Yeah.
You don't look like a princess.
Hey.
I just did. Anyway, go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
At least I gave you a laugh on a Wednesday evening. That's good. Since there was a direction, we went slightly to the right. Yeah, obviously the number 3 would be the most ideal to choose tonight then, because why give the administration extra work and the like. So obviously 3 by discussion for the last 12, 14 minutes, item 3 would be the one to go with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Councillor Kistemaker, Belinda, go ahead.
Of all of them, I like the subcommittee idea because I think we're going to need it. I'm going with number 3.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sheneman?
I'm certainly in agreement with the status to number 3 is fine. Thank you.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to acknowledge receipt, and my understanding is we're giving verbal direction for option 3, and terms of reference will be coming back next meeting. Is that, yes, Jen? Thank you. Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder to acknowledge receipt of the report, moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of DCSR 2023-02, Consolidation of Board and Committees Report, as provided by Jennifer Hill, Deputy Clerk. And those in favor? That is carried. Drago, could you?
Agreed.
Drago? Agreed, okay. And
Agreed,
that's
thank
carried,
you.
okay. None opposed. Okay, moving on to 11.6 is the management vacation draft policy. And Eileen, did you want to speak to this before we open up for discussion?
I don't think I have anything further to add. I just wanted to mention in regards to my report that again, same kind of timeline as Jen's terms of reference input. Council has until March 1st to provide any comments or feedback about this policy, and they can email it to me at cao@hornepayne.ca. But I can take any questions from council if they have any.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. And I believe the next process after that was so March 8th, it would come back in a completed draft form, and then if there's no further discussion on it at the next meeting.
Yes, so if there's any amendments, it either way would come back to the March 8th meeting, and then we would bring back to the March 22nd meeting for adoption.
For adoption, okay. I do have one question on the policy, is that I just have concerns about, and I know that I voiced them to you when I first, when we had our agenda meeting, was about the carryover of a maximum of 1/2 of their annual entitlement. And my suggestion was to go to 2 weeks. That way we're not having to keep track of who's, half is 3.5 weeks or 2.5 weeks, that sort of thing. And then also if a brand new employee comes on board and they say, come on with 3 weeks, they actually can carry over 2 weeks if they want to that first year. I thought that might be more suitable. But that's the comment I had on the policy as it stands. And another question I do have, Eileen. Oh, sorry, Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion, Mayor. I think it tightens up the issues. There's less administration to it. It's clear, cut and dried, and I love that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. The other item that I wanted to address was the, I think it's in another policy, is when the timelines for vacation have to be put forward.
Yes, I still have to find that information, but I can get that information to council at a later date.
Okay,
I believe, sorry.
I was just going to say, could you email that out to council, and then they can just respond to that email for the information for the any updates they have for the policy if it affects it?
Sure, yeah, I can email council and then put that info in there as well.
Okay, great. And just for accountability and transparency to the public, we'll include that on our meeting agenda for our next meeting as well, so that the public has seen what we've looked at. Thank you, Eileen. Any further comments from Councillor Sheneman or Councillor Kistemaker at this time? No? Okay, you will have opportunity to email in your comments by March the 1st, and then we'll revisit this item on March the 8th. And if there's no further discussion, we'll move on. We're moving on to item 12, bylaws. 12.1 is the bylaw for the water and sewer rates. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ted Sheneman, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1985, being a bylaw to set the water and sewage rates for the municipality for the year 2023, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. And we've had plenty of discussion on this item. I do open the floor for one final discussion or comment. There being none, I put this to a vote. Those in favor?
Agreed.
That is carried, none opposed. Thank you, Council. Item number 13, motions and notices of motion. There are none at this time, so we're moving on to item 14, our closed session. If I can get a mover and a seconder to move into a closed session, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting at 7:09 p.m. be closed to the public in order to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board. I'm getting some feedback. Okay, I'll continue. Which, if disclosed, could be reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of the person, group, or person or organization pursuant to section 239(2)(bi) of the Municipal Act 2001. And I put that if there's no objection, we'll consider that passed and move into closed. And we'll meet everybody on their closed link and return back here at the end of the closed. Thank you. council back with us. And if I can get a mover and a seconder to return to open, please. Moved by Councillor Ted Sheneman, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby return to open council at 7:55 p.m. And if there is no objection, we'll consider that carried. Item number 15 is business arising from the closed session. We do have from item 14.3 or 2, we brought back our deferred resolution from November 30th, 2022. That was moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik and second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby authorizes Jack Sargent to utilize the township's 2 canopy tents and stage, as well as all available tables and chairs on Saturday, August 12th, 2023 for his annual Last Party Legion Community Fundraiser event free of charge. After discussion and further investigation, there is a change to the motion put to the floor to be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne hereby authorizes Jack Sargent to utilize the township's 2 canopy tents and stage, as well as all available tables and chairs on Saturday, August 12th, 2023 for his annual Last Party Legion Community Fundraiser event for a fee of $100. And I asked the mover, Councillor Stefanik, are you okay with that change to the motion? You are, and I asked the seconder, Councillor Ted Sheneman, if he is as well.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we have this motion on the floor, moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman, and I put that to a vote of council. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. And the final item within our closed session is still under further review and will be discussed at a further in-camera session of council. And finally, we come to our adjournment, council, and our bylaw, confirmatory bylaw, 1986. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1986, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their regular meeting held on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. And those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. And we have our adjournment, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 at 7:58 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Okay, thank you, council, for your time this evening, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.
Thank you.